And what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Acceleracers Hub for another video. Hopefully you guys are all doing well. And guys, I have good news in this video. So as most of you guys know, just about every morning I go through, the eBay sold listings for Acceleracers, Highway 35, so on and so forth. Just sort of seeing what's sold over the prior day or the prior past few days. Some days I forget to check. Just sort of see what items are moving at, so on and so forth. But it's kind of hard to tell what the general Acceleracers market looks like just by doing that day to day. Obviously you see, outlier prices and then prices that are really low and you're like, wow, somebody got a great deal or somebody really overpaid. But on the whole, it's kind of difficult to tell what prices are sort of averaging at. So it kind of got me curious as to, what the going average price is over the last, couple weeks for a lot of these Acceleracers items. So for this video, what we're going to be doing, guys, is we're going to be taking a look at the Metal Maniacs and the Teku carded Acceleracers cars. We're going to take a look at the last 10 sold listings for each of the cars in that team. So 18 total cars. Check out their average price, the highest price, the lowest price, see what the average price that they're selling at right now is. And we're going to take a look and see if the prices are coming down or they are going up. And spoiler alert, a lot of them are coming down. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. All right, guys, you guys knew we were headed to Excel eventually. I love my data and my spreadsheets. So we're going to start off with Powerbomb. So we have the car's name on the left, and right next to it, we have the average price of the last 10 sold listings. So as you can see, we've got 1 to 10 going from left to right. 1 is the most recent sale. 10 is the furthest sale of the 10. The lowest price is in green. So $22.40 was the lowest out of the 10 sales, and $28.99 was the highest of the last 10 sales for Powerbomb. So it is averaging a price of $26.21. And guys, just for a little more background, some of the prices were best offer prices, which means that they took a lower value. So what I did for that, just based on my experience selling on eBay, typically the best offer accepted is normally about 15% lower than the listed price. So for anything that's sold with a best offer in the last 10, I just did 15% off of what the sale price was to just give us some more accurate idea. It's not going to be 100% foolproof, but it will sort of give us a better idea. And the only other thing to note is that there were a bunch of factory sealed set cars that have sold in the last 10 listings for almost all these Acceleracers cars. So anything that was factory sealed set, I put the sale price in bold just so it would sort of stand out a bit and you could see, if it was, the highest priced item that, maybe that's why it sold for so much, was that it was a factory sealed set item, because people do seem to pay a little bit more for those. So moving on to Piledriver, guys, and there were only 7 sold listings for Piledriver. As you can see, a bunch of them were over $100, but the most recent one, sold for $91.50. I believe that was an international edition, so maybe that's why. But still, that is a far cry from the prices that we've seen for Piledriver lately. So the lowest price out of the recent sales would be in green, so that's the $91.50, and then the highest price was $218.84. So someone paid over double what the most recent one sold for. So the average price for Piledriver right now is about $160. Moving on to Flathead Fury, and look at that. Once again, the most recent sold listing at $112.51 is the lowest price, which is interesting. Again, seems like prices are coming down a little bit with some of these, because if you look all the way to the right, we've got $212, $219, $225, $310. Someone paid $310 for a Flathead Fury, and it wasn't even a factory sealed set one. Then $289, $243, $240, and then the most recent one, $112, almost half of what they've been going for recently. The average price on Flathead is still $231. Moving on to Riveted, and as you can see here, we do have some factory sealed set ones that have sold. The bold sales in the 8 and 9 spot went for $54 and $39 for a carded Riveted. Oh my goodness. So the $54.84 was the most expensive one, and it was a factory sealed set one, which maybe somebody thought they were getting a good deal on a factory sealed set one, so that's why they spent so much on it. But the lowest sold Riveted price over the last 10 listings was $23, which is, $23 would have been crazy, a year ago to pay for a Riveted, but that's kind of where we're at now. Moving on to Hollowback, and just take a moment here to look at the average price that's next to the car's name. So we got 26 for Powerbomb, 164 for Piledriver, 231 for Flathead, $35 on average for Riveted, $27 for Hollowback. These prices are going through the roof. But on the bright side, if you keep looking at those little green cells on the right, those are the lowest sale prices, and they seem to be coming more and more recently for Piledriver, Flathead, Riveted, Hollowback. Some of the lowest prices have been some of the most recent sales. So moving on to Rolling Thunder here, again, some more factory sealed set cars listed. Someone got a Rolling Thunder for $15.90 in that 5 spot. So someone got a fairly good deal, honestly, considering what the prices are now. But then you look at that 10 spot, somebody paid $39.88 for a carded Rolling Thunder. Wow, that is like $15 more than people paid for those factory sealed set ones. So the average price of Rolling Thunder right now is $24.03 just based on the last 10 sold listings. Moving on to Spinebuster. So the most recent Spinebuster that sold was $34.50 carded, and that was the lowest price. And once again, one of the lowest prices coming recently. Not sure if that's a trend that's going to continue on for long, but it is nice to see some lower prices coming recently. And once again, one factory sealed set one sold for $38 in that 8 spot. So the average for Spinebuster right now is $36.56, which is interesting. It's only a hair above riveted. It's like $1 more on average than riveted, which is crazy because Spinebuster seems to be in much higher demand. And moving on to Ratified, there was a Ratified that sold for $33.50. That is the high price on Ratified in that 5 spot. But then right next to it, someone got one for $11.24. So who knows why that one person paid 3 times as much for a Ratified. But there are still some expensive Ratified prices in here. You know, it seems like all but 2 of them are in the $20 range. So the average price for Ratified right now is $23.32 over the last 10 listings. And then rounding off the Metal Maniacs with some Jackhammer love. So the factory sealed set Jackhammer that sold was the most expensive. It is the bold price in the 9 spot at $41.84. I don't remember, there was something up with that one. I think that might have been an international one that sold from like Great Britain or something, and that's why it's so much more expensive. I think it might have had a like a $20 shipping charge on it. But anyway, so $41 was the high price, $19.99 was the low price. The average Jackhammer price over the last 10, $27.09. So not one of these Metal Maniac cars had an average price over the last 10 of anything under what, $23. Ratified was the lowest. So $23 was the cheapest average carded Metal Maniac price. That is absolutely nuts. Prices are crazy these days. But I went ahead and made a list of all the Metal Maniac cars in order of their average price down below. So Flathead's the most expensive, then Piledriver, Spinebuster, Riveted, Hollowback, Jackhammer, Powerbomb, Rolling Thunder, and Ratified. Most of them are mid-20s, unfortunately. But what does give me hope, though, is if you look up at all the prices, you see a lot of green cells over on the far left, which means those are recent prices. So it just kind of gives me some hope. You know, some of those prices are coming down for the carded cars. A lot of the most expensive ones were, you know, ones that were selling, 2 to 3 weeks ago to a month ago. And several factory sealed set ones have been selling. Interesting to see how many of those cars have been selling recently. There's a lot of factory sealed sets getting broken up. So now let's move on to the Teku, starting off with Reverb. Ooh, look at these prices. So starting off on the far right, a factory sealed set one sold for $425. Then we had one sell for $350, $410, $445 was the max price for a Reverb, $445. Then right next to that, we had a factory sealed set one sell for $349. Then one sold for $375. Holy cow. Then look at this, $242, $190, $194, and then $190 was the last sold listing. So look at that. Those last 3 reverbs, or the last 4 reverbs really, $242, $190, $194, and $190 again. That is very interesting. Look at those prices coming down. So people were paying almost double about 2 weeks ago for reverbs in that $400, $350 range. Prices are coming down for some of these rares. They're so expensive that prices have to come down at some point. But the average price for reverb over the last 10 was $317. Wow. Moving on to Drift Tech. So in the 10 spot, we had a factory sealed set one sell for $27. There's actually 3 factory sealed set Drift Techs that sold over the last 10. So that's, 3 more factory sealed sets that have been broken up at least. But the max price for a Drift Tech was $38. The lowest one is $21.90. And that was a factory sealed set one that actually sold for the lowest, which is interesting. But the average price for Drift Tech, $28.67. It's honestly not terrible considering the prices of some of the common Metal Maniacs. Moving on to Synchro, and this is where it does get a little bit tough because I didn't really separate between Orange Wing and Black Wing, and I didn't really do variations for a lot of these cars. But because this is just sort of a rough data estimate over the last 10, it's not going to be perfect. But anyways, these are sort of all over the place, from Orange to Black Wing. Some of the Black Wings sell around 40. Orange Wings are more like the 50 to 60 range lately. But anyways, the average price for Synchro over the last 10 was $47.06. Moving on to Chicane, one of the big boys, starting out over on the far right at number 10. One sold for $499. Then the next one was a factory sealed set one that sold for $410. Then one sold for $410 again. Then a $451. And then someone got one for $344, which is about $100 off of what the other ones had been selling for. Then the next one was $417. And then this one, guys, somebody bought a Chicane for $628. Wow. Then the next one was a factory sealed set one for $393, so almost $200 cheaper. And then the next one sold for $509 and then $509 again. And any of these listings that I saw pop up over and over again, like they had been bidded up to like $700 and then relisted and then bidded up to $700 and relisted. I just didn't include those because it just seemed like show bidding to me. And it seemed like the prices were artificially inflated. And if it keeps getting relisted over and over again, that probably means that it's not selling. So I didn't even include those in the data. But anyways, the average price for chicane over the last 10 sold listings, $457.46. But 2 of those were factory sealed set ones. But ironically, the 2 factory sealed set ones both sold for under $410, while the $628 one really pushed the average up. Moving on to battle spec. Once again, prices sort of plateauing here with the battle specs between $39 and $45. The most expensive was $46. The cheapest one was $36. Average price for battle spec over the last 10, $42.48. Moving on to Power Age, and Power Age is one that there's never a shortage of in the market, and it seems to have sort of plateaued in the $50 to $65 range. So over the last 10, $60, $60, $54, then $60, $64, $62. The max was a $71.50 that somebody spent on one, $71 for a Power Age. Then it was $60, then the cheapest one was $49, and then another $61. So a lot of $60 Power Ages in there, but the average price was $60.28 for a carded Power Age. And moving on to high voltage, this is another one that's really been falling down in price. I mean, look at the 10th listing, $50.99. Then we had one for $68, then one for $82. That was a factory sealed set one, so that's probably why it was so expensive. Then somebody bought one for almost $90. That was regular. Then after that, $60, then $75 for another factory sealed set one, then $78, but then $55, $46, and $57. They're coming down in price. I'm probably gonna have to lower the price on mine that I have listed now. I didn't realize that the price for high voltage was dropping like that. But look at high voltage saving us all, because for a while there, high voltage seemed like it was headed to that $85 to $100 range, but the average price over the last 10, $66.36. Not that much more expensive than Power Age, honestly. And then moving on to Spectite, there were only 3 accurate sold listings from what I could tell for Spectite, because a couple of them were those show bidding ones where it was bidded up to like $700 and then relisted and then went for $600 and then relisted again. I just didn't even include it. So those last 3 listings that sold were for $559, then one for $533, which was a factory sealed set one, and then a factory sealed set one that sold for $650. And my heart tells me that probably didn't sell for $650, but I didn't see that the item was relisted, so it seems legit to me. So that means that the average price for Spectite over those last 3 listings was $581. Definitely absolutely through the roof. It's amazing how many more chicane sales there are versus Spectite, because it always kind of seemed like they were hand in hand as far as rarity goes, at least to me from the outside looking in. But clearly there's a lot more chicane selling than Spectites. And then moving on to baseline to wrap it up, once again, similar to battle spec baseline, there's a ton of them out there it seems, and they always kind of plateau in that $35 to $45 range. But the average price for baseline is $40.76. And then to wrap up the data portion of the video, once again, I made a list of them from the most expensive to the least expensive. Spectite $581, chicane about $130 cheaper, reverb about $140 cheaper than that, and then high voltage Power Age Synchro, battle spec baseline, drift tech, all kind of in a row there. And just remember, this data is only the last 10 sold listings, so it's not the end all be all, but it's just a sort of a quick insight into what items have been selling for, because I wasn't going to spend 5 hours to do the last 400 sold listings. Plus the listings don't even go back that far. But once again, though, looking at the data in that big block, look at all those green cells that are all the way to the left. The lowest prices for all 9 of those Teku cars are all within, the 6th most recent sale and sooner. There's not really any of those that were the cheapest at, the 9 and the 10th sales. So clearly the prices are starting to come down a bit. All that green is headed towards the left, which is good for buyers. So that's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. Definitely interesting to see that a lot of Acceleracers prices seem to be averaging down. Obviously, last 10 sold listings is a pretty small sample size, but for some of these cars, there's not even 10 sold listings. But the prices seem to be pretty spot on in a certain range for all of the cars, except for some of the rares that are just all over the place. Looking at you, Spectite. But on the whole, it does seem like the market is slowing down a bit for carded cars, which is surprising because I think more people than ever are opening cars. Just about every day on the subreddit, there's posts of people that have opened their cars, free at Fridays, so on and so forth. So it's interesting that carded prices are going down, but I do think it has a lot to do with the fact that there are just a huge surplus of cars that are entering the market, especially the commons and uncommons. Obviously, the rares are always going to kind of be all over the place, but even some of the rares, like Flathead Fury, Piledriver, there's 4, 5, 6 of a lot of these cars listed, where for a while there's only 1 or 2 of these cars listed, and that's why they were selling at such high premiums. That's why I don't fault the people who bought, a chicane at $500 when there's only 1 chicane listed for a month and a half. You know, they thought maybe that is the only chance they're gonna get. But these days, there's more like 4 to 6 of a lot of these cars listed. So prices are gonna slowly keep coming down, at least until we find that equilibrium point between the demand and the supply. But it is definitely looking like it has a positive outlook over the next couple months. So we'll just kind of keep an eye on it. I didn't want to add the silencers and drones to this video just because I figured that would make this video, 30 minutes long. But I'll probably do a follow-up video sometime over the next couple weeks with the silencers and the drones prices and sort of take a look at it, because as you guys know, I love my Excel spreadsheets, I love my price points, and I love my data. I have a ton of fun doing videos like these. But anyways, guys, if you enjoyed, be sure to smash the like button for me, subscribe to the Acceleracers Hub for more Acceleracers related content, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace out, guys.